Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to season 2 of the Athlete Artist Show. My name is Kyle Forch, alongside my co-host, multi-gold medalist for Team Canada, professional hockey player Zach Boychuk. We have a very special guest kicking off season 2. He's a massively successful lawyer, entrepreneur, and investor. He was awarded the Order of Canada in 2019 and is now part owner of the NHL's newest franchise, the Seattle Kraken. Please welcome Mr. Mitch Garber.
Hey, guys.
How are you today?
Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. We know things are super busy for you right now with obviously the first season of a brand new team. How's that feeling right now? Has it kind of sunk in yet? Are you still riding high on the wave, or what's the feeling like around the executives and for you yourself?
Yeah, I'd say all of the above. I would say that first of all, I think, as a fan, when you look at it, it looks like, a team with a great logo in a beautiful arena. All those things are true. But, when you know the story behind it, and you know that Jerry Bruckheimer and David Bonderman tried to get an NHL team for 12 years. They messed around a bit in Arizona, messed around a bit in Pittsburgh, spoke a lot to the league about expansion and about Seattle, and finally were successful at convincing the league that Seattle was the best place for a new market team, after the Vegas team was successful in Las Vegas, and then, coming up with the architectural and engineering design to keep the heritage roof on the arena and build $1 billion arena underneath it, under the ground, was an unbelievable feat, and then, hiring the CEO of the team, Todd Lewicki, guy's amazing. And then him hiring, Ron Francis, and then the coaching staff and all the executives around the team. And so it's a $2 billion operation. When you think about the arena, the franchise fee, the arena that's being built in Coachella Valley, the practice arena in Northgate, just outside of downtown Seattle. So it's a real major, it's a major undertaking to start up from the thinking about it process to the application process, to building an actual team and all the infrastructure. So now, yeah, there's some relief in watching the team play. And most of that heavy lifting was done by, Bonderman and Lewicki and Tim, his brother, and Bruckheimer, and then some local partners in Seattle who are really great people. The Wrights, the Hanauers, the Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, incredible guy. The Ackerleys, who used to own the Supersonics. So it's just a guy named Jay Deutsch, who's a merchandising genius. So just amazing group.
That's awesome. So we'll kind of circle back to this when we talk about your career a little bit. But you were you worked in Vegas for a substantial amount of time, starting in 2013 with Caesars. So I kind of was wondering if there was any potential that you were going to be in on the Vegas expansion originally, or if you kind of always had Seattle, or if you weren't even thinking about hockey at that time.
I wasn't thinking about hockey, but David Bonderman and Bruckheimer did contemplate Vegas, but the 08-09 sort of crash came and it messed up those plans. So there was an opportunity that they would have maybe become the owners of a Vegas team, and then maybe I would have been part of that ownership group, but I never had that conversation.
Okay. Speaking of your career, so you started with the legal career in 1990. Was the plan always to transition from the law side to the business side, or did it happen naturally? Or you've kind of had a roller coaster of a career in terms of, not a roller coaster, but touching many different elements and mastering many different elements to kind of build your career?
Yeah, it's so hard because, when you have some success, people think that there's some kind of formula. And so when you ask me about, did I plan? I didn't plan anything. I planned to go to law school. I planned to get out of law school. And then I practiced for 9 years with my godfather, and I found myself in a niche in the gaming industry. And then I found myself in a niche in the electronic payments business in 1997, early days of the internet. My friends started a company based on an idea that I had, and they were very successful with it. So it made sense for me, rather than sit around, billing time, I could join them in this business that I had basically started with them. So, you know, yes, my career has touched many areas, but I can't say that, you know, many of these moves were planned in advance. I don't play chess, but I do know that chess players plan like 3 or 4 moves in advance. So that is absolutely not the case in the planning of my career or my life, for that matter.
So for you, it's checkers, not chess, and it worked out.
For me, it's opportunism. You know, I think checkers is probably more opportunistic. You know, obviously it's a more simplistic game. It's more opportunistic, and the other is more strategic. And I think, you know, if I want to exaggerate, I could just go back and say, oh, this was all part of some strategic plan. But if I want to be honest, then I have to say, hey, listen, for sure, I put myself in a position to meet the right people at the right time. I watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk's, you know, TikToks and videos, because I really believe that he has a real understanding about being opportunistic, and being entrepreneurial, and being social, and being emotionally intelligent, and taking advantage of situations. And so I don't know him. I mean, we have common friends, but I really think he's got a good handle on not taking yourself too seriously, but making sure that you're near every open door so you can peek inside and see if that's the door you should be walking through or not. And if you walk through the wrong door, and make a decision to get out and, you know, and get into another one.
For sure. You kind of touched on it in the Forbes article. You said almost exactly what you said here. Successful careers do not simply occur out of singular events. It is through various random and unpredictable circumstances that opportunities arise, and it is up to individuals to make themselves available to seize them. I think that kind of applies, especially right now with COVID happening over the last 2 years, in terms of people having to create new opportunities or adapt to make brand new ones. Do you kind of think that has something to do with, or do you kind of think that has to do with things that are going on in the world right now in terms of adapting?
Yeah, I think that there's been a huge change in so many areas right now, including workplace, lots of people leaving their jobs because they were unhappy, or lots of people finding some other activity that they can do either on their own. There's never been this many startups, never been this much venture capital raising. People are really kind of pivoting and changing the idea of what they thought their career was going to be. I just did a podcast with 2 great guys that Zach will know, Maxime Lapierre and Guillaume Latendresse, the other day. And I'll say the same thing to Zach. You know, so my career and Zach's career are totally different. Zach is one of the best in the world at what he does, and only the best in the world get to the level of playing in the NHL and playing in the top league in Germany. In what I do, you don't have to be one of the best in the world. You have to have luck, good fortune. You have to meet the right people. You have to be in the right place. You know, so, you know, Connor McDavid's the best hockey player in the world. It's not because, you know, he knew someone or he went to the right cocktail party that he ended up Connor McDavid. So people like me, you know, people like Zach have to outwork everybody, and their talent will rise, and they'll get recognized, they'll get drafted, and they'll become pro. People like me have to depend a lot more on luck, happenstance, and kind of being in the right place at the right time. So there are people smarter than I am that didn't have the same luck or opportunity. There aren't players, you know, better than Draisaitl that just no one recognized how good they were. That's very rare that would happen. Probably doesn't happen.
And has hockey always been a passion of yours? Like, where are you from exactly, and how did you end up, you know, getting into something like this?
Yeah, so, you know, Zach, I was born in Montreal, and I was born in 1964. So if you think about when was I, you know, I was 8 years old for the 1972 series against the Russians. Paul Henderson goal, legendary. I was 10, 11, 12, 13 when the Habs were winning all those Stanley Cups in the 70s, and Guy Lafleur and Gainey and Savard and all the, you know, everyone my age can still name the entire lineup of every Canadiens team growing up, every number, you know, who wore each number. All of us can do that. Today, it's a little bit more difficult. You know, players change teams more often. So I grew up with the Montreal Canadiens winning cups, and kind of thinking that was normal. Now I realize how obviously how difficult that is. You have teams in the league, been in the league for a long time, never won a cup. So yeah, I grew up with a passion for hockey. I still play once or twice a week. I'm 57 years old. I love the game. I think the game is underappreciated by people who have never played it. So and I'm learning that in Seattle, the people love the game, but they have a lot of the sort of difficulties that first time fans have, for example, following the puck on television. And so our announcers and broadcasters are really good at helping new fans and at the same time catering to fans who have been, really experienced fans of the game. Guy like John Forsland, who I think, is one of the best in the game. We've got a radio guy named Everett Fitzhugh. And I listen to and watch the broadcasts, and they do a really great job at bringing along these new fans. For us, Zach, we always know where the puck's going to be. You can't even put yourself in the mind of someone who's watching and they don't know where the puck is. But you need to think that way. That if you take this game and you show it to somebody in Kenya, they won't know where to look for the puck. So yeah, it's fun to be teaching people the game, but they're learning very quickly. And they've had a few years in Seattle to watch, if they hadn't watched before, to watch hockey in anticipation of having the team come.
What's kind of been the greatest challenge? Well, I'll ask it this way. What was the greatest challenge before the season started, kind of leading into the draft, even before the draft? And then what's been the most challenging thing after, your team's built and the season started?
Probably the most challenging thing, which I had nothing to do with, was delivering the arena on time.
Okay.
And then the second biggest challenge, which I also have very little to do with, is the difficulty during COVID for the GM and the scouts to be able to actually go and meet players and meet their families and go and see them in the arena. I'm sure it was difficult for the other 31 teams, but for a team that doesn't have a single player, to essentially not even hardly meet a single player until you've drafted them, and maybe not even see them live in person until you've drafted them. I think Ron Francis would tell you that was very challenging. So everything around COVID, including what I just mentioned, plus the construction of the arena and the delivery of it on time. So just, anecdotally, and this has been reported in the newspaper, the Kraken skated on the ice at the Climate Pledge Arena on the morning of their first regular season game in that arena against Vancouver. So imagine you're coming into the arena. They had never been in the dressing room before. They had never been on the ice before. They skated on the ice that morning, and that night, 17,000 something fans came to their first home game. So Zach, you could appreciate that, it's your home rink and you've never been on it before. So that's how tight the delivery time was.
Yeah, I remember seeing Eberle comment about that a little bit after the game, saying, it was our basically first time skating on the ice. It's way different. You've been either practicing at a practice rink or playing away games and just waiting for that moment. It's got to be challenging, but now they've been in their rink for a while. Things are starting to calm down a little bit, and now the grind of the season is coming, and it's been a bit of a crazy season. There's been some teams that have been at the top of the standings that you wouldn't think of. Now you're kind of getting, there's a lot of teams getting hit with the COVID bug. So what other kind of challenges do you see coming ahead here?
I think COVID, I don't know when you're going to air this, but I'll just, we'll talk about the Calgary Flames. They have 17, as of today, 17 members of the organization with COVID. I don't know when they're going to play their next game. Yeah. So the Islanders have been decimated, the Senators decimated. I guess if we have to compare Seattle's situation, relatively speaking, even though we've almost always had someone in COVID protocol since the season started, we haven't been hit like the teams I just mentioned.
Wow, it's crazy that it's still, it's crazy to me that this whole thing is still going on, for one. But now you got to think about how many players are actually or at least I'm thinking about it, how many players are actually following these guidelines? Yeah, a lot. I think every player in the league is vaccinated now, but is every single team being as strict as the next team in terms of letting guys, go after games or go to dinners, or do the regulations kind of differ between the franchise, or is it a league rule in terms of those regulations?
Look, I think the league has been really clear about, how to behave, but, players go home, players have families, players have kids who go to school, players have wives or girlfriends that, have to go out or have to go to work. It's not so simple. These guys are not living in a bubble, right? If you look at 2 years ago, yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to put the team in a bubble for 80 games, say, okay, for the next 6 months, you guys are living in a bubble and you can't go home. So it doesn't work quite that way. All of the players in the Kraken, except for maybe one, and maybe now it's all, have already gotten the booster shot.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, so I mean, it's been difficult, but the team and the team doctors are doing the best they can, and the players, I'm sure the players are being careful. I really am, because, so let's use as an example, you're playing Calgary, Seattle's playing Calgary, and someone tests positive. You're stuck 14 days, I think, in Canada. So, nothing wrong with being in Canada, but no one wants to be stuck in a hotel room, in Calgary while the team's traveling around. Your kids and your wife or girlfriend are back at home in Seattle. So this whole cross
apartment in Calgary, let alone a hotel.
So the cross-border problems are real, right? You don't want to be stuck. So there's a lot at play here.
For sure.
Yeah, we just got our booster shot over here in Germany as well, and I think there's been a lot of teams that have went through where over half of their roster has been decimated, and they end up having to play junior guys. And I remember one team losing like 10-1. So at least in the NHL, the Calgary's not going to have to play for a little while, and there's definitely protocols in place, and it's good to hear guys are getting boosters and trying to do the best they can to follow the protocols.
Zach, you guys are reducing fan capacity out there right now too, aren't you?
Sorry, say that
again?
In Berlin, I believe, Zach, they're reducing fan capacity.
Yeah, we're down to 2,500 in our neck of the woods in Germany, but in the south of Germany, there's no fans allowed to go to any of the games. It's just kind of depending on what region you are. So it's definitely tough times right now over here.
Zach, was it is it in any way, does it affect your play in any way when you play in front of no fans? I mean, I played my whole career in front of no fans. So we jump on the ice on a Sunday or a Tuesday and we play with no fans. But when you've played in front of a full house in Arizona, or you've played in front of a full house in Germany, does it take away from your energy to walk onto the ice for a real game, but have nobody either cheering for or against you?
For me, it was the very first 2 games. Like the very first time I had to experience it, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't play. Like, I was not pumped to go out there, even though we had to win these games to make it into the playoffs. But now that I've kind of gotten used to it, and now that you're out there, the competitive juices are still flowing. You're wanting to play your best every night and compete. It's yeah, like we won the championship last year in front of no fans. Not one fan was in the building. We still partied and had a fun time after with just the guys and the wives and stuff. But it's different playing without fans. I think you definitely miss them, but you can still find a way to be competitive without them.
How much? I'm asking all the questions now, but I have a couple of questions for Zach. So. How much do you out of 10, how much do you think you're playing right now for the money versus for the love of the game? Because you're in Germany, you've played in the National Hockey League. The money is not the same in Germany. You're in your 30s. So how much of it is, hey, I just want to play until I can't play anymore, and how much is it, hey, listen, I'm also making a good living here, and that's also very important.
I think if you asked me that question a couple of years ago when I was in Russia, it would probably be like an 8 or 9 out of 10 for the money. But now it's I've played 14 years professional now, pretty secure on that side of it, and also, like we were talking with Kyle earlier, we got some crypto investments on the side that have been doing really well. So now it's I'm playing for the love of the game, and I love being in Germany. There's lots of Canadians and Americans, and the German guys are awesome. And I definitely like to play as long as I can. I still enjoy coming to the rink, and now my body's getting a little bit sore as I get older. I'm not 25 anymore, but it's about 8 out of 10 for just still the passion and love for the game.
That's great. That's awesome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to welcome Spreads.ca to the podcast. Spreads.ca is Canada's premier online sports betting and casino destination. Spreads has all the sports you love, from NHL, MLB, NFL, NBA, CFL, and more. Sign up using the promo code PUCK and get 15 free spins on the sports slot machine for a chance to win $1 million. Plus, they'll match your first deposit 100% up to $250 and give you a free $25 sports bet. Finding excellent online sports betting shouldn't be a gamble. For the best in sports betting and casino, head to spreads.ca and use promo code PUCK when signing up. Once again, that is promo code PUCK when you sign up. Kind of touching on that, or I guess scrolling back to the hockey part, since we kind of touched on crypto there, when you asked about the players being affected by the no fans, how is it being affected, or what do you think on the executive side, in terms of there being no fans from a business standpoint? Does it give you different things to think about when, I guess you guys didn't have to play an entire season with no fans or play in the bubble, but if you do have to, if the time comes where you do have to either eliminate the fans again completely or drop down, what is it in terms on the business side that you guys have to think about, that you kind of, whether you have to recoup some of that income somewhere else, or?
Yeah, I think that'll be a league governor's decision. It's interesting because this is our first season. We played every single game in front of a basically full house in whatever city we're in, especially in our own, except that every single one of our players played in front of an empty arena last year for whatever team they were playing on. So, from a player perspective, these guys are all used to the bubble. They're used to playing in front of no fans. And then on the Seattle side, obviously it would be a shame. The fans are crazy. We were losing 7-0 to Colorado in the third period, and not a single fan that we could tell left the arena. Now, you never want to be down 7-0, but just think about how happy the fans are to have hockey. That in arguably the worst game we played this year, the fans were still engaged in the game. So having the fans for our players, I think, is really important. It's their first season. They've never played together before. I mean, now they've played 26 games together, but they've never played together before. The fans are definitely helpful.
What was the process like picking the expansion draft? Because you guys focused young, obviously. What was the reason behind wanting to get that really good group of core young guys, and instead of building it around a ton of old vets that would have just killed your cap for the next 3, 4, 5 years?
Well, first of all, our majority owner is not a Jerry Jones type owner. He's let the CEO and the GM run the team. So, the thing that I'll say that Ron Francis has said publicly is that there's a very good free agent crop coming out in 2022. There are a lot of teams in the league that'll be under pressure with their salary cap. And he wanted to build a very good core team and be able to take advantage in 2022 of the free agent market and whatever is coming in the 2022 draft. So, I personally think, even as a fan, that he has built a really good core team, really good character, and some really good players. But looking forward to being in a position to get another star player, to draft another Matty Beniers, who's having a great year in Michigan, now playing for the U.S. junior team.
Yeah, I think Ron Francis, he definitely doesn't get enough credit for the team that he built in Carolina. You see that D-core that they have there, that's so strong. A lot of them were from his draft picks, and he was great for me when I was there. I think he's one of those guys that is a legend of the game, a top 5 scorer, kind of a Hall of Famer, and to see him, I'm sure he's got a great plan coming ahead, and he didn't have much to work with in Carolina. The budget wasn't that high, and some of the trades that he made and bringing guys in, it looks like Carolina's a powerhouse now, and it'd be great to see him to do that for Seattle too.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing about Ron. I don't give Ron any hockey advice, and he doesn't ask me for any. What I'm mostly impressed about Ron is everything around the organization that he was involved in. He sat in the meetings when we were picking, designing, and talking about the logo, the color scheme, about the dressing room config, about what the medical team needed, about the arena, how the arena was looking. Obviously involved in the AHL franchise in Coachella Valley. So, when you think of a GM, like, who's he going to trade for? Ron is incredible businessman, talking about analytics, building an analytics department. He's really built an organization. He was, on the hockey side, employee number 1. Well, Dave Tippett was there, but Tippett got hired in Edmonton and left. So, Ron has built a hockey operations organization from scratch. And anyone who's been involved in a startup, especially a big startup like this, has to appreciate this is not a hockey. This is not a hockey head who just knows, hockey. He really is a very, very good businessman. I'm really impressed, and he's an incredibly nice man too.
And with John Forsland coming from Carolina as well, how did that greatness just kind of fall into your guys' lap? I know.
Yeah, it didn't fall into our lap, but Todd Lewicki said we have to have the best of everything, and David Bonderman, our majority owner, said, "Listen, budget-wise, you guys go out and get the best of everything." And we have. Our dressing room is the best in the National Hockey League. Our facility is the nicest one in the National Hockey League, and our broadcast team is among the best in the NHL. John is incredible. And he's bringing JT Brown around really, really well. Imagine learning from John Forsland. It's been really interesting. So yeah, Todd went after John, and John saw the opportunity, came to Seattle, and I guess he became convinced. I don't know this for a fact, but his relationship with Ron probably played a role there.
Awesome. Chuck, do you have anything else to touch on the hockey side, or should we move into some crypto to finish things off?
Yeah, we can go into
I see a little smile come on your face there, Mitch. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah.
Are you holding right now? What's just kick it off like that? What are you holding right now?
So I'm not holding any crypto right now. I held Bitcoin, I sold it. I'm not a trader, although on this particular asset, I don't mind trading because it's so volatile. And it's very hard to predict where it's going. I think there are very knowledgeable people who can predict where it will end up. So I know Anthony Pompliano, who you guys probably know. I've done his podcast. Really, I did it because I wasn't that knowledgeable about crypto, and he saw that as an opportunity to have me on the show. What I'm really excited about is over the last 4 or 5 years, the well-known people that I know, whether it's Paris Hilton or Kate Hudson or whether it's hockey players like Marco Scandella, Matt Dumba, they only want to talk about one thing. They only want, well, two things. They want to talk about investing, right? So now the guys like Boychuk and I'll put Boychuk and Paris Hilton and Steve Aoki and all these guys in the same boat, which is they don't want to talk about their profession as much as they want to talk about investing. A, they're making more money than the generation before them did, and B, they're really interested in what's happening now. A guy like Aoki and even Paris are way more invested in crypto and the metaverse than I am. So I'm in a position now where I'm almost learning from them, and they're introducing me to people. So you got to meet this guy. He's got this technology that's going to be used in the metaverse by these NFT creators, and I'm like, okay, I'll meet them. And so the whole paradigm has switched. I was introducing them to investments and to things that I'm involved in. Now, they're calling me about crypto. So, I don't hold any now, but I do have some indirect investments. Like I'm invested in the company that Nike just bought. What's it called? I'll think of it in a second. Artifact.
Okay.
Yeah. So they just bought Artifact as their metaverse play, and I'm invested in Artifact. So all of a sudden, Nike sees this opportunity to build in the metaverse, and they go out and they buy this, a seed round company that I'm invested in. I'm invested in it through someone who knows much more than I do. So I'm touching it. I believe in it. If you ask me today, if I bought some Bitcoin today, what is it now? 47,000 ish.
Yep, something around that, yeah.
So if you ask me if I thought that if I bought, $100,000 of Bitcoin today, what do I think it'd be worth in 5 years from now? Probably a lot more. Probably a lot more. At the same time, if I bought $100,000 of Amazon today, I think that's also going to be worth in 5 years from now a lot more. So, and those are, Amazon and Snowflake are areas I know better than crypto, but I do think that Pompliano was right when he said, Mitch, you should have 2% of your net worth in crypto. And I don't, but I think he's right about that. And I should start thinking more about it.
So you'd be more of like the long-term crypto play. So like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. Would you ever dabble with the meme coins at all? Or you probably don't have time with that, with how busy you are.
A lot of the professional poker players that I know are really involved in that, and they've with the punk crypto punk, they've made a ton of money, but I couldn't wrap my arms around it. And they were saying, let's just send me some money and you'll be part of my investments. I'm like, I could do that, and I do trust you, but I don't understand this whole crypto punk market. Yeah, it's a tough one. What's the other one? Ape.
Bored Apes.
Yeah.
I think Gary Vee is kind of behind a lot of this stuff too. Like he's got his foot in the door there, and he's got his own NFT collection, and it really seems like the future. I think a lot of sports guys are starting to take it as their salary or take it as endorsements. So I wonder if there's going to be teams paying guys in Bitcoin and paying guys in certain stuff like this.
That's a really
crazy world.
I got a text last night from a woman who works at Sotheby's in New York asking me if I wanted to be involved in their upcoming NFT auction, if I wanted to be notified, if I wanted to see the content. And I said, actually, I don't, because I'm not going to buy an NFT at, in a Sotheby's auction. I don't know enough about it, but how can I learn more about it? So I'm in the learning phase. Like if we do this in a year from now, I hope I'll be smarter.
So we do too. Like we just started crypto, I think, what was it, Chucky? Like started June, maybe end of May. So half a year, just over half a year now. And it's been insane. Like my first investment was $40 with a Safe Moon, which is worth nothing now. But like it's fun because there are a lot of opportunities where you can play around with the meme coins to kind of learn crypto and learn the fees and learn gas and kind of just learn how the market fluctuates and works before you make a big play on a Bitcoin or an Ethereum type thing.
Yeah, but you know, if I look at Bitcoin at, let's say, 46,000, if I believe that there's no reason for it to not go back to 66,000, that's a 50% gain.
For sure.
Right. I know in crypto that 50% gains aren't considered to be anything great, but in the real world, it's an amazing gain.
Yeah. Yeah, crypto's up and down all the time. There's Chucky will tell you too. Some of the meme coins, I like to call myself diamond hands, but I'm a panic seller, like the most of them sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Zach, Zach, how much of your sort of net worth would you be comfortable having invested in crypto, blockchain, metaverse, that whole area? Like how much would you be comfortable as a percentage?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say like maybe 25%. I'm kind of definitely on the higher end. Been getting more and more into it, but at the same time, I know the risks. I know that, you know, a lot of people say it could go to zero, so it could be a big bubble. So I wouldn't be going, you know, 50% or 80% or anything like that. But yeah, I'm still pretty new.
So it can't go to zero, meaning blockchain and cryptocurrency can't go to zero. Some things can go to zero. So, you know, diversification, the same way diversification is important in the stock market. You know, Enron was a great company. It went to zero, but if you owned Enron as one of 50 companies that you own, and you were really focused on energy, for example, you would have done extremely well. You just would have lost, you know, your 1/50th of your portfolio in Enron. So if you can kind of look at crypto, blockchain as energy or fintech or healthcare, and spread yourself into some of the best ideas, I think, and write small checks, then I don't think zero is a possibility. I mean, the whole thing has to go to zero. It doesn't make sense.
Makes sense. Awesome, Chucky. You got anything else to touch on the crypto side there?
No, I think that's it.
Last
great combo today.
Yeah, last thing just before we do let you go, because we did touch on your position with, or in Vegas, I guess, the city of Vegas, the All-Star game coming up. Are you getting calls from guys for the hookups, or what's?
Not yet, but I used to, you know, when I was in Vegas, I knew a lot of players, and at the end of the season, when they were either got eliminated, didn't make the playoffs, or got eliminated from the playoffs, the guys would go on a trip to Vegas. That was like the kind of standard. And, you know, as Zach knows, there's always one guy who's about to get married. So that's you know, there's always an excuse to go to Vegas, right? Because all the guys get married after the season in the summer. So chances are there's always one guy who's getting married. So yeah, I've helped a lot of players, and it's interesting because hockey players have an amazing reputation. And when I hooked up hockey players with VIP services at Caesars, I would get back feedback like those guys were really the most polite guys that we had in the hotel. We thought, oh my God, you know, 12 hockey players are coming in. 8 of them are sharing this villa. It's going to be a mess. And it was like as neat when they left as when they got there. Super polite to the, you know, to the maintenance and cleaning crew, to the concierges. And I think that's an amazing thing, you know, to think that hockey players, and I do believe that of hockey players, I believe that by and large hockey players are just among the nicest people that I've come across. And so, yeah, they like to go to Vegas, but they don't tear it down, which is good.
Are you going to the All-Star game?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be in Whistler during the All-Star game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For a little vacation.
I've never been to an All-Star game, actually.
Neither have I. This is my first one, but I'm excited. I'm fully vaccinated. Okay. Passport's in, so it'll be. I'm trying to convince Chucky to make the flight over from Germany too, but a little bit of a long of a hop for that, hey Chucks?
It is
a little bit. Do you have any inside info on like the NHLers going to the Olympics or anything like that? Have you heard anything?
I don't. You know, I don't have any. I mean, you could probably tell me. This has nothing to do with Seattle, so I'll ask you. But so if you're a young player with a real chance to make the team, how important is it to have the opportunity to win an Olympic gold medal versus the thinking, oh, I don't want to go to China, COVID, I need time off. Is it still a massive dream of players to win a gold in the Olympics, so much so that if they have the opportunity to go, they really want to go?
I think a lot of the players really want to go. They might not be able to make that decision on their own, but it's just one of those things. Like if you ask a guy like Connor McDavid or John Tavares or a lot of these guys who didn't get that chance 4 years ago, I think this time around, or even an Alex Ovechkin, guys like that, they've already won cups. They've got to the top of the hockey world over in North America. I think now they want to be at the top of the world on the national stage. So we'll see if they go, and I hope they do, because it's so much fun, so much more fun to watch when those guys are there.
Yeah, watching Crosby and McDavid could be fun. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks, right?
For sure.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's all we got for you today. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Like we said, we know you're super busy right in the middle of the first season of brand new NHL.
But you know what? I'm doing so many other things. The team.
That too. I'm going to say that on
professionally. Yeah, the team is run professionally. I'm just enjoying watching the games right now. So I'd love to get to know you guys better, and I really appreciate that you reached out to me.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.